I marvel upon you, you watch them, saying faithful. Repeat the Hebrew only. Barakta Yahweh, Agado, Rakaram, Abiyah, Manawa'a, Ali1, Malak, Shaw, Shemayim, Barataza, Wako, Labayim, Kayam, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Adawanawa, Ahabnawa, Apalah, Yahaitaza, Yahushai, Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Baratazawan, Aimka, Yasha'ala, Aizonawa, Wana, Wasap, Yasha'ala, O, Nanawa, Yamyan, Aita, Kaiwamian, Makudam, Abukushai, Shalat, Maika Allah, Watazwadat, Alahayam, La, Maganawa, Wapanawa, Ashmor, Alnawa, Baikor, Shalat, Arocha, Shah, Yahushai, Lanawa, Lalmanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Tabawana, Wadaif, Shah, the Baka, Bahasham, Yahushai, the water, Tamyad, Baiwulam, Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahushai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel. Most high, we beg you right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers and angels to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the law. Barakta Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Yashirah, Atanawa, Atarat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the light to see. Barakta Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Yashirah, Atanawa, Awar, La'arat. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the ransom to call the people. Barakta Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Ashirah, Atanawa, Quran, Ayo, Lakura, Ha'aim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushai that give to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakta Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Ashirah, Atanawa, Hasheman, Zayaf, Lamashak, Yasha'ala, Yeshua. Please be seated. Shalom Yasharala. Shalom those watching on the live stream. Shalom those listening on the conference line. Welcome to Yasharala Kanas, which means the Congregation of Israel, where we teach the so-called Negroes and Hispanics, those who forefathers were brought here on cargo slave ships, and those who travel after the Assyrian captivity to the land of North, throughout the South Central and North America. They are the real Jews that the Bible speaks of. Today is the Lord's Sabbath day, as we read in Exodus, the 20th chapter. The seventh day is the Most High's day. That's the day that we ought to come and pay respect and honor the Most High on this day. And it is the Sabbath day. So my name is Kahan Pokwat. I am presiding over the service by Hashem Yahweh Shai, so that we can begin. The chapter that we're going to read today is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9 and chapter 10. In Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9 and chapter 10, and we're going to find some great information about wisdom, and most importantly, the purpose of this book, why it was written, and why the Most High had this book written. And the purpose is to encourage the Israelites living abroad who are not living in Jerusalem. And we know Jerusalem is where we ought to worship. But when the Most High kicked us out of the land because of our disobedience, we were scattered throughout the Gentiles nations. And particularly, we were in Egypt during the Alexander conquest of Hellenization. So this book was written for Israelites, by Israelites, for us living in contemporary time. So what I mean by contemporary, I mean modern day time. As we exist and we live in modern day time, this is a contemporary period, or contemporary time, or modern day time, if you want to use the word modern day, right? So in the society that we live in today is modern, and at the time when this book was written, the Israelites who were scattered abroad, it was modern day time or contemporary time for them. So maintaining our culture in a secular world was very difficult, as it is today. Maintaining our culture, which is a priority for the children of Israel, it's very difficult because we're not in our land, we're not in our rulership, so therefore we follow a secular authority, a secular government, right? And even though we follow a secular government, keep in mind that all secular government or all authority is established by the Most High. So to begin, let's go to Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7. Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7. And it says, wisdom is the principal thing. So what it means by principal, meaning the chief or the most important things. So wisdom is the principal thing. Why is wisdom the principal thing? It is because without wisdom, nothing that we see today would not exist. So let's go to the first verse, right? Wisdom is the principal thing, which is Proverbs 4 and 7. Again, it emphasizes the priority of seeking wisdom over material possession, right? Seeking wisdom over material possession. That's pretty much what it's about. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is knowledge, understanding, experience put into application. So now everybody has wisdom. Everybody has wisdom. Everything has wisdom. Now, what type of wisdom everybody has, that's the difference. That's what makes the difference in wisdom. You can have wisdom of the world or wisdom of the Most High. In any case, they are both from the Most High. Most High created them both. But those that he has chosen, he gave them righteous wisdom to follow. And those who are in authority in the world, they have wisdom of the world, which, and again, is not true wisdom, and it's given to them as well by the Most High. So the priority again, Proverbs 4:7, wisdom is the principal thing. So we're gonna dive into the chapter, which is chapter 9. So let's get to the first verse. And before we read the first verse, let's establish what chapter 9 and chapter 10 is about. So once we know what chapter 10 and chapter 9 and chapter 10 is about, as we read, we're gonna read the details to coincide with the basis of chapter 9 and chapter 10. So in chapter 9, we're gonna read about the origin, qualities, and deeds of wisdom. So in chapter 9, that's what we're gonna read about. The origin, qualities, and deeds of wisdom. In chapter 10, we're going to read the contrast between the Egyptians and the Israelites. Right, in terms of, wisdom, how wisdom is being displayed in contrast between the Israelite and the Egyptians. So that now that we have that established, let's read the first verse in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9. It says, God of my fathers, God of my fathers. So again, keep in mind the origin, qualities, and deed of wisdom that we are reading about in chapter 9. And Lord of mercy, who has made all things with thy word. That's the origin. The origin of creation is the Most High, who has made all things with what? With thy word. So with this first verse, write down John chapter 1 and verse 3 as reference. You can write down John chapter 1, verse 3, Hebrews 11 and 3, and Psalm 33 and 6 as reference. But I'm going to read John chapter 1 and verse 3. John chapter 1, verse 3, Hebrews 11 and 3, and Psalm 33 and 6. All tie in with the first verse in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9 and verse 1. So now I'm going to read St. John chapter 1 and verse 3. And it reads, all things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So that's again the origin of wisdom. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So it pretty much compels me to read Hebrews 11 and 3, even though I said I was going to read John 1 and 3. So let me read also Hebrews 11 and 3. So Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 3 reads, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed, and pay attention to the words, because when we read worlds here, meaning we have multiple worlds, we have various worlds. So that's emphasized different worlds. We have the animal worlds, we have the men's worlds, we have women's worlds, we have the Arabs world, we have the Chinese world, we have different types of world. He says through faith we understand that the worlds, plural, were framed by the word of God. Right? So it was framed by the word of God. Same thing that we read in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, in verse 1. So that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So the Most High made everything out of nothing. Right? He made everything out of nothing. He created the raw materials of everything out of nothing. So verse 2. In chapter 9 in Wisdom of Solomon. It says, and ordain men through thy wisdom, that he should have dominion over the creatures which thou hast made. So men through thy wisdom, the wisdom of the Most High, that he said that they should have dominion over the creatures which thou hast made. In order the world according to equity and righteousness. So men were to conduct, or men were to organize or rule the world according to equity and righteousness. So when it says equity here, we're not talking about equity as far as stock equity or equity in a company. We're talking about equity in terms of fair and impartial. So we have to conduct things in a way where everything is impartial and fair in treatment. It says, and execute judgment with an upright heart. So we ought to judge situation and matters and make the final declaration or sentence with a clear mind. A clear mind or a righteous mind or a spiritual mind means according to the word of the Most High, according to stipulation, according to the law, according to the proper application of law in any matter that we presiding over. It says, give me wisdom that sitteth by thy throne, and reject me not from among thy children. So the request here was for wisdom. So the ultimate, as we read, things of importance is wisdom, because wisdom is the principal thing. Because wisdom, what it does, you have the knowledge, you will have the understanding, and comes the experience in how to apply that knowledge, understanding, and experience in a righteous way. And let's see why he asked for wisdom. For I, thy servant and son of thine handmaid, am a feeble person, and of a short time, and too young for the understanding of judgment and law. So pretty much he's saying here, I'm a young man, I'm not even that learned, and for me to be in the position that you put me into, I have to have information first. I have to understand the information, and then I have to know how to apply the information, right? Have the experience to apply the information so that I do the right a good job, right? So I can apply the right judgment. So I need your help right? Because you, the creator of all things, you know these things, and I don't know. You have all the knowledge, you have all the information, you have all the understanding, and you have the experience of all these things. That's what I need in order for me to be able to do this job that you employ me to do. So you can tie in with verse verse 2 on down, Psalm 86 and 15. Psalm 86 and verse 15. Go on.
86.
86 and verse 15. And for verse 3, you can for verse 3 you can write down First Kings 3 and verse 6. Also for verse 3, First King 9 and 4 to 5. And for verse 4, you can write down Second Chronicle chapter 1 and verse 10. Second Chronicles chapter, 1 and verse 10. Second Chronicle chapter 1 and verse 10. And I'll read it. Second Chronicle 1 and 10. It says, "Give me now wisdom and knowledge that I may go out and come in before this people. For who can judge this people that is so great?" So he needed wisdom to judge the people accordingly, according to what we read in verse 2. Verse 3, equity and righteousness. Judge this people impartial, because a judge is supposed to be impartial. A matter comes before him, he needs to listen to the matter, gather the evidence, and make decision fair and impartial, regardless poor or rich, regardless of your stature in society. So this is the law regarding how the Israelite kings and the Israelite people ought to conduct their lives. So let's go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9. Now we at verse 6. "For though a man be never so perfect among the children of men, yet if thy wisdom be not with him, he shall be nothing regarded." So when Yahushua said, "Without me you cannot do anything," it is true, Because without Christ, we cannot do anything. Why? It is because in his creation, wisdom is imparted in everything, and everything contains wisdom in it. The raw material comes with the knowledge embedded in it and what it can become. Right? And that verse where Christ says, without me you cannot do anything, is John 15 and verse 5. St. John 15 and verse 5. For example, the Most High already know the seeds were going to be coming wicked from the seed. Because in the seed, in the DNA of the seed, it has all the aspect, all the qualities of wickedness in it before it even emerged to be a wicked person on earth. So the Most High already know, Yahushua, he created all seeds. He knows whose seed's going to be wicked and whose seed is going to be righteous from the inception. So when he created, for example, metals, you already know in the DNA or in the architecture or in the chemical compound of the metal what it can become. You can use it to make cars or all sorts of things. All that is already pre-made in the DNA or in the chemical composition of the seed or in the metal. So when you see a realization of any types of material or any types of a product, it was already in the Most High's setup that what you can do with that raw material. So the Most High, he's the one that gives the information, in another word, the knowledge, the understanding, the experience to make anything. Yes, we have new things happen, but without the raw material predestined to become what it has become, it could not accomplish what it has accomplished. So when mankind creates something, it's not of mankind themselves that created it. It was already preordained in the Most High. A weapon that is created, the metal, the raw material, everything is already made for that to become what it is. So if you have a cell phone, yeah, you say, man, the cell phone is smart. It has chips in it, and we didn't have that before. All the raw material already have in it what it can become. It can become that smartphone. So without the Most High creation, we cannot do anything. Without Christ, we cannot do anything because he ultimately created all things. Through him, all things were created by him and for him. So when you see Einstein come up with the nuclear fusion or how to make nuclear weapon, the Most High already know what the atoms, when you split it, what it can become. He just discovered how it works. And that in itself is wisdom. And where's that wisdom come from? From the Most High. So when men boast that they have wisdom, it's because they have, again, lack of knowledge and understanding of how things were made. So they have to take credit for what they do. And neglected the fact that everything that you see and unsee and not see, it was already there. Most High created it. When you see airplane, which is new, the knowledge and understanding of the raw material, the composition, to make everything that we have today as a plane to fly, all was already in the composition of the raw material. Mankind has discovered in its time. All right, so let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 9 in verse 7 now.
So that John 15 and 5 was for verse 6.
John 15 and 5 was for, one second. Yes. So now we at verse 7.
Oh, and I link up to what you were just saying. You can just read it, kind of explain yourself. But Daniel chapter 12 and verse 4.
So another link up is Daniel chapter 12 in verse 4. That's for verse 6, right?
What you were saying about the raw materials that person make all these things is already here, and then as far as the knowledge to do it.
Go on. In verse 7, it says, Thou hast chosen me to be a king of thy people and a judge of thy sons and daughters. Thou hast commanded me to build a temple upon thy holy mount. All right, so for verse 7, you can write down 1 Chronicle 28 and 5. 1 Chronicle 28 and 5. Since these chapters are short chapters, let's go back to verse 6 again, and then let's link up 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 18 to 21. That's for verse 6, and I'll read it. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18 to 21. That's why it's very important that in the beginning we established chapter 9 is pretty much the origin, qualities, and deeds of wisdom, right? That's pretty much what chapter 9 is about, and that's why we're seeing the evidence based on the scriptures that we linking up. We see the evidence of what we're saying here from the beginning. All right, once again, we're gonna read 1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 18. And it reads, Let no man deceive himself. If any man among you seemeth to be wise in this world, let him become a fool, that he may be wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God. For it is written, He taketh the wise in their own craftiness. So when they think that they come up with AI, they come up with iPhone, and they think they smart, they think outsmart the Most High, they are fools. Because they fail to understand everything that they are doing, the Most High already know, and saying this time, that's what would happen. AI is not happening outside of the Most High's, peripheral. It's not happening outside of the Most High. So AI is happening right in line with what the Most High said would happen in the last days. What mankind would be doing with his raw materials and thinking that it's their wisdom that they come up with. Right? So the key is use the word, but don't abuse it. And we can use ChatGPT, right? We can use those deep search engines, but don't consume by it. Don't be consumed by them, because that's the whole point. The whole point is to make you lose your sense of spirituality in these things, thinking that they are in control. But in reality, the Most High is in control. Use them, but don't let them consume you. It says, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness with God, for it is written, he taketh the wise in their own craftiness. And it says, and again, the Lord knoweth the thoughts of the wise, that they are vain. Therefore, let no man glory in men, for all things are yours. Because the world is yours. All things are yours. The world were created for the Israelites' sake. I read the 21 again. Therefore, let no man glory in men, for all things are yours. They are the Most High. So since we are the Most High, the sons of the Most High, so we are heirs of the kingdom, the earth is ours. The earth is ours for the taking. It doesn't seem like it because we in captivity. We going through, hardship. It seems like we at the bottom of the total pole. We don't even matter. But the reality is, when things flips, we are the kings and queens of this earth. Somebody may laugh, may ridicule us for a moment, but we're gonna have the last laugh when the table turns. As much as the world make us look bad, we are the last hired and the first fired. That's the way the Most High intended to be because of our disobedience. But as you can see, a lot of us are waking up all throughout the four corners of the earth. And when the time Most High appointed comes to fruition, then everything's gonna come clear. That's where the patience coming. So let's read some more scriptures. Let's go to, on that same verse 6 again. Let's read Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3 and 17. Let's go back. Chapter 3 and verse 17. So let them boast. Let them think they create the major chip ever that's going to control mankind, that's going to take over, robots going to take over. Let them think that. It's to create fear and denying the Most High's creation as the ultimate AI ever. Mankind, Most High's creation, is the ultimate AI ever in existence. Right? But the key is to deny the Most High's creation to make us think that robot is more important and it's more superior.
Most High is the I, right?
Right.
Or maybe they might call it the SI, the Supreme Intelligence.
Go on.
He's the maker. He's not me.
Go on.
The artificial thing.
Right. And this is not a campaign to bash AI. It's just for us not to be consumed by AI. So use it for what it's worth. You need to do a search. You need to do a research. Just do your thing. Keep keep in mind, it's about being creative, because the Most High has endless creativity. And if we are his sons and daughters, we have endless creativity as well. So AI cannot be more creative than us. So we can use AI creatively to attain or achieve what we want to do in the time being in this system, but not let it consume us. That's the goal. Because the fashion of this world passeth away. That's what's in now. You remember the dot-com bubble or the dot-com? It was the thing. You remember Y2K? So the system every time come up with something just to keep things interesting. And that's how the Most High set it up. So that they don't see what's coming. They think they're in control. So us being wise, we see it for what it is, and we maintain our culture even in the face of a culture that's that makes it difficult to maintain our culture, the Israelite culture. So the key is to maintain our Israelite culture in a contemporary world, in a secular world where things are very difficult for us to maintain our culture. So that's the key. And that's why Wisdom of Solomon is created for us living in these difficult situations, to go back to the book and see what the Most High has done and looking forward, so that we can maintain our culture in the face of this system, so that we don't lose sight of our kingdom to come. You ever?
Yeah, just you're talking about with the just seeing artificial intelligence and robotics, see them as tools, and don't, like you said, give them too much. We just need, like you said, we need to be reminded that the Most High is the one responsible for language to begin with, for speech to begin with.
God.
And in the kingdom, we have the spiritual power already within us. It tells you, Zechariah, chapter 8 and 23.
Zechariah chapter 8 and 23.
Yeah. It tells you pretty much that that in that day, 10 men will take hold of all the languages of the nation. And they shall take a hold of the skirt of him, as the Jews saying, who will go with you? For we heard that God is with you.
Right.
So people will look to men again, and namely the men and women of Israel in particular, to show, wow, this is the true power. Anything we've done before this has been secondary. The power of us is actually already in us.
God. To the righteous kingdoms. Said, get closer to the mic. Let's see.
I think that's what's come about.
Khan. Khan Zukamulak, yes, says, get closer to the mic. Why it's not connected?
Why does it say? No, it is. But I just heard like a sound. It went like something got. Because we brought the mic closer last night, they can hear you.
Oh, they can't hear from the audience.
Right.
Okay, the audience. Okay.
Remember last night we put the mic closer.
Closer to the mic. All right. Tuwada Kahan. All right. So let's move on.
Okay, so that was Zechariah 8 and 23. Folks didn't hear it. So,
Okay, Zechariah chapter 8 and 23. That was the link that the brother Kahan Nabiyah just mentioned. So now let's go to verse 9 now in Wisdom of Solomon. Verse 8 first. It says, thou hast commanded me to build a temple upon thy holy mount, and an altar in the city wherein thou dwellest, a resemblance of the holy tabernacle, which thou hast prepared from the beginning. And for verse 8, you can write down Exodus 28, verse 8 to 9. For verse 8, Exodus chapter 28, verse 8 to 9. Also 2 Samuel chapters.
First Chronicles 28 and 5. What was that for again?
First Chronicle 7.
This one, these now for what verse?
This is for verse 8. No, First Chronicle 28 and 5 is for verse 8. Verse 8. First Chronicle 28 and 5 is for verse 8.
What verse?
And I have a few more for verse 8. Let me give it to you before. It's 2 Chronicles 6 and 1 to 2 for verse 8 again. And Tobit 1 and 4 for verse 8. And Psalm 15 and 1 for verse 8. And lastly, Psalm 48, verse 2 to 3 for verse 8 again. You write these down real fast. Five, 2 Chronicle 6 and 1 to 2, and Tobit 1, 4, and Psalm 15 and 1, Psalm 48 and 3. 48, 2 to 3. Okay, so now let's go to verse 9.
So, feel like paraphrasing the verse you're saying? Just write it down.
Yeah, just write them down.
What was the 2 Samuel verse?
The 2 Samuel, chapter 7:13. Let me. 2 Samuel 7:13. Second Samuel 7:13 is pretty much going into Solomon order to build a temple for the Most High, and it says, "He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever." Okay, so this is referring to Yahushua. It's gonna build the Most High's kingdom, and he will establish it forever. Showing that Solomon, same line, David, the king and kingship is coming from that same line as it was promised. So back to 9 in verse 9 now. And it says, "And wisdom was with thee, which knoweth thy works, and was present when thou madest the world, and knew what was acceptable in thy sight, and right in thy commandments." Right? So you could write down Deuteronomy for verse 9, chapter 6, in verse 17 to 18. Let me get that real fast. Deuteronomy chapter 6, in verse 17. And it says, ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God and his testimonies and his statutes which he have commanded thee. Verse 18, and thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest go and possess the good land which the Lord sware unto thy father. So let's go to Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 22. Proverbs chapter 8 and verse 22. And it says, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. And if I read above, starting in verse 17, it says, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, doable riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yea, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. Right? So those who like business, who like revenue, who like return on investment, right? This is what the Most High says about those who love him, who love wisdom. I lead in the way of righteousness, in the midst of the path of judgment, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance, and I will fill their treasures. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. So this is not something new. We're just playing out what the Most High set up. So everything is already in it. The seeds of what you ought to become is already embedded in the seeds. Just imagine the seed of a man, right, has everything in it for that person to be who he's gonna come to be. A nation, in the terms of in the case of Jacob, become a nation, a multitude of nations, right, shall come out of thee. And that nation will be the nation that will rule the earth, who will inherit the earth. All these promises, we don't see it yet, but we see, if we have eyes to see, we can see the evolution of everything that the Most High said would happen are happening now, and been happening and still continue to happen, so that we can arrive at the promise that he made for the children of Israel when he says the plan is to give you good success. It's not to harm you, but to make sure that you have an expected end. Let's get that scripture. I know the plan that I have for you. So without wisdom, we cannot understand the plan that the Most High have. We're just gonna read the Bible just like Christians, and have hallucinations and all types of wishful thinking without understanding. But the Most High has a plan. But without the wisdom of the Most High, we will not understand and know the plan. And it's Jeremiah. It's Jeremiah 29 and 11. And I'll read it. Jeremiah 29 and 11 reads, I know the thoughts that I think towards you, saith the Lord, thought of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So the end is already, the end of who we are to become is already set from the beginning, in the inception. From the seed of our fathers, growing in this earth, become who we are, and have kids, and now we become a nation of people. All that is part of the plan. And to understand it is wisdom, righteous wisdom. Wicked wisdom will tell you, you live and die. One life to live. Live, laugh, and have fun, be married, go partying, make money. That's the plan that the world has. But the plan that the Most High have for us is an expected end with everlasting life. But again, without the Most High give us that understanding, grant us grace to understand that great plan that He has for us, you will not be able to see it, as we were saying last night. You will not be able to see it. It's gonna be like a fairy tale and wishful thinking for people without understanding and wisdom. So let's go back to verse 9 again. And it says, what was the last verse I gave on verse 9? Jeremiah 29:11. So now let's get St. John chapter 1 and verse 10. St. John chapter 1 and verse 10. And it says, He was in the world, and the world was made by Him, and the world knew Him not. So Yahushua pretty much made the world, the worlds, and including the world of Israel, right? The world was made by Him, but the world knew Him not. He was with us, but a lot of us didn't know Him. A lot of us Israelites didn't know Him. I'm not even talking about the Gentiles, because they're not supposed to know Him, because they're supposed to know wickedness. Because their seed is of the seed of Sodom in Egypt. See, that's why the Most High went to the seed, because the seed already predetermined what manner of people and quality of people they shall be on earth before they become that people. Who can predict that? The Most High. Why? Because He's the author of the seed.
I think he was talking about the whole world, not just Israel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He created the whole world, including Israel world.
Oh, okay.
So let's go to verse 10 now. Verse 10 reads, or send her out of thine holy heavens, and from the throne of thy glory, that being present, she may labor with me. That's in reference to wisdom. So send her out of thy holy heavens, and from the throne of thy glory, that being present, she may labor with me, that I may know that is pleasing unto thee. So if you're gonna get the job, if I'm gonna get the job, I need your help, please, to send wisdom so that I can execute, right, properly, so that you can be pleased with the result. Because in the world, it's about result. No matter how and where, in the manner of how you got wisdom, result, it's about result. It could be wicked, righteous, as long as you arrive at wisdom and you have the know-how to cover up your trap, you don't get caught, right? You can trick people to make them think that, you got it the right way, right? So that's the wisdom of the world. Even that is wisdom. But wisdom, worldly wisdom will teach you, make it by any means necessary. Strive, make it by any means necessary. Just cover your track so you don't get caught. And in lie, make people think that you got it by righteous means. That in itself is wisdom. But woe unto thee that have that type of wisdom, because you have been blinded by the God of this world. Right? So now for verse 10, you can write down Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 18 and verse 15. Also Matthew 5 and 34. Right? It says in Matthew 5:34, I'm going to read that. Matthew 5:34 says, but I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And it goes to say that the Most High is in control of everything, in heaven, in earth, and everything created, seen and unseen. The Most High is in control. So even though most of the time we talk about Esau's kingdom and Esau's government is not away from the Most High. They're not doing things away from the Most High. It's pretty much they doing things in line with the Most High, except we ought not to follow them because it is not ours. Let's go to Romans 13 and 1. Romans chapter 13 and 1. So both our kingdom, or the Most High's kingdom, in the secular world, they are under the authority of the Most High. And it reads, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Trump, Biden, any government all throughout the world, they are ordered by the Most High. They are there because the Most High allowed them to be there. Granted, this is not our kingdom, but the Most High is following a plan that He created, that everyone, seen and unseen, everything that we see is ordained by the Most High. Right? I'll read it again. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. So now you can see how these people can twist that scripture to let you think that you're supposed to follow what the system is doing. That's not what he's saying here. This is giving us a way to conduct ourselves in this secular world, to know that there's no power but of God. The Most High is the ultimate power. As long as we abide by the Most High's commandments and law statutes, no other powers can touch us because they are controlled by the Most High. And don't try to say you're going to go against them, on your own will, thinking you're going to defeat them outside of the Most High. That's wishful thinking. Because that's part of the plan, part of the Most High's plan, to have them established for a time, to run the course, and then when it comes time for the Most High to, bring His people into rulership, then it will happen. As we see gradually, as we acquire more wisdom, knowledge of and understanding of the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High, we seeing these things, for what it is. All right, so that was Romans 3 in verse 1. 13 and 1, the water. Also, St. John 3 in verse 17. Still for verse 10. St. John 3 in verse 17. And it reads, "For power sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved." What world this is referring to? How do we prove that?
This one scripture says, Israel, world without end. Isaiah. I gotta look it up.
Go ahead. Go look it up. All right, so let's move on. Verse 11 now. It says, "For she knoweth and understandeth all things, and she shall lead me soberly in my doing, and preserve me in her power. So shall my work be acceptable, and then shall I judge thy people righteously, and be worthy to sit in my Father's seat. For what man is he that can know the counsel of God? Or who can think what the will of the Lord is? For the thoughts of mortal men are miserable, and our devices are but uncertain. For the corruptible body passeth down, the soul, and the earthy tabernacle weareth down the mind that museth upon many things. And hardly do we guess. This is, and hardly do we guess aright. Right? Hardly do we guess aright at things that are upon earth. And with labor do we find the things that are before us. But the things that are in heaven, who have searched out in thy counsel, who have known, except thou give wisdom, and send thy Holy Spirit from above. For so the ways of them which live on the earth were reformed, and men were taught the things that are pleasing unto thee, and were saved through wisdom. Right? So now, since we're done with chapter 9, let's get some link ups, because a lot is said here in this in these verses. So let's link some verses to corroborate what we just read. For example, for verse 11, you can write down Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8 and verse 8. Chapter 8 and verse 8. Let's read that. Nabia, you can read that once you have, if you can, Baba Kusha.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8, and verse 8. A man desire much experience. She knoweth things of old.
It says, a man desireth much experience. She knoweth things of old. So that's where we're talking about experience, right? When you have experience, you have knowledge, you have understanding, you have experience, right? Read on.
This old English is kind of funny. What's that word where it says before a right? Is that conceiving?
I said, a man desireth much experience, she knoweth things of old, and conjectureth.
Oh, okay. In conjecture the right what is to come, she knoweth the subtleties of speeches and can expound dark sentences.
Right. So he says, in conjecture of aright what is to come, meaning he knows what's gonna happen before it happened. Why? Because in it, he has the experience and the seed and the know-how of the outcome. So imagine we want to make something happen. For example, we want to make a phone, or we want to create a book. We will feel at ease if we know how to make the book, how to write it, right? And we have the experience, and we already know the outcome of when the books come out, how people are going to receive it, and it's going to be a hit. So if you already know the result, everything is pretty much a breeze. That's comfort, because now you're not just doing it and winging it. You already know the expected result. So that's why when the Most High said to give you an expected end, you already know what what he already established, what the end is going to be, and that's wisdom. So there's no guesswork. Once you have the knowledge, you have the understanding, you have the experience, and you already know what result to expect. And wisdom already know what the result is going to be. All right, you can read on.
She perceived things, signs, and wonders, and the events of seasons and times.
Gone. So therefore, he pretty much, like I says, he expound on dark sentences. So she foreseeing the signs and wonders, meaning the foresight to already know what's behind a certain sign. So I see this happen, I already know what the outcome is. Not guessing what the outcome is. With us, we guessing. Right? We do statistical analysis, probabilities, right? Just so that we can figure out the likelihood of something happening. Right? We have analytics. We collect so much information just to arrive at a probable or more somewhat accurate conclusion. And that's why in statistics you have plus or minus zero. There's always a margin of 0.001, right? Just left just for errors, margin of errors. They call it margin of errors. In the Most High's, with his wisdom, there's no margin of errors. What it says, it perceive it, and it's gonna come out exactly correctly, exactly as it should. So there's no guesswork in the Most High statistics, right? If we foresee seasons and time exactly as it should happen. So as we read in verse 11, it says, "For she knoweth and understandeth all things, and she shall lead me soberly in my doings, and preserve me in her powers." So once you have the know-how, wisdom leads you, then you can remain powerful, influential, right? You can change and influence things in your environment, right? So that's power. You can change, you can control and influence things in your environment. And the Most High is the ultimate powerhouse, because he is the author of life itself. Right? So that's the power that Solomon is asking. Give me wisdom so I know how to do things correctly. Give me the foresight. Send wisdom with me so I know when I'm doing things, it's not guesswork. It's not, I'm not experimenting, because wisdom already have the experience, right? It's not, it's not a crapshoot, right? So now, for that, let's get, for verse 12 now, let's get 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 6. That's for verse 12. As a matter of fact, just write it down so we can tackle on the next chapter, because it's a lot, when it comes to the study of these two chapters here. You can never say enough, or never have enough link-ups. All right, so and for verse 13, you can write down Isaiah 40 and 13.
Sorry, you said what's up with
Verse 12, 1 Kings 3, 6, and 9.
Yeah, there was a link for verse 3, right? First Kings 3 and 6, you looked at verse 3.
Right. So you can link that to with verse 12 as well. So verse 13, Isaiah 40 and 13. Right, so let's see. The Most High is pretty much, he's the author of his own story. He's the author of his own creation. He's the author of life, ultimately. So Isaiah 40:13 reads, who have directed the Spirit of the Lord, or being his counselor, have taught him. So who? The Most High is sovereign. That's why he says, I am he. There's no God with me. Right? There's no God with me. Because that's why when we were in Egypt, and our people, the Israelites, we witnessed the Egyptians have so many gods. They have the gods that were over the river of the Nile. They have the God that protect the royal family. And they had the God of the sun god Ra. So we're familiar with the Egyptian worshiping all these gods. So that's why when Moses went to, right, whoever was having a conversation, he says, so who am I going to tell the children of Israel what God sent me? Because they're familiar with so many gods. So how would they know that, what is his name? Because they know about the God of the sun. Because all these Egyptians God, they attach themselves to some kind of external things. That's why the Most High said, there's none with me. Meaning, I'm by myself. There's no other gods besides me. I'm not the God of the sun only. I'm the God of the creation. I'm not the God of the Nile. I'm not the sun god Ra. Right? So that's why it says, I am that I am. Just tell them that I am have sent you. Hence his name. I exist alone. There's no other gods besides me. I exist. I am that I am. So tell the children of Israel, I am. Meaning he is. So there's no God with. He doesn't have to associate himself with any of his creation as his power. He's his own power, as opposed to the other gods that are imagination or creation. Right? So he says, again in Isaiah 40:13, who have directed the Spirit of the Lord, or being his counselor, have taught him. So that's why when he told Moses to turn the river, throw the rod, and it turned the river into blood. So now he already defeated the God that was over the river of the Nile. Boom, the sun is turned darker. Boom, so he was over the God of the sun. So Moses becoming very powerful, and they seeing it. The Egyptians gods are seeing it. Boom, it destroyed the first kings, the firstborn of the Egyptians. Specifically, the first sons of the God of the king of Egypt. Now he was over the protector of the God that was over the royal family. So now they had no choice. Let my people go. So our people, seeing that the Most High God is more powerful than all those gods of the Egyptians. Right? So that's why the Most High said, there's no God with me. Right? So now we had verse 13 still. Let's get Baruch chapter 3 and verse 31. And Gabal, you could read that Baruch Koshah once you have it. Go on. So once we understand we are the son of the living power that control creation, life itself. Once we understand that and we know what is required of us, when we read, what is the Lord thy God required of thee? To love him in all his ways, right? To acknowledge him and to follow his commandments. Then we are on the path of waking up. We are on the path of the kingdom. Not religion, not Christianity, but now we are the sons who are gonna inherit the kingdom. So it's about a kingdom. It's about rulership. It's about dominion. That's what it's about. And this whole earth is that's what it's about. It's about dominion, rulership, who's in power, who's in control. So that's why the meek shall inherit the earth. And who are the meek? The children of Israel. When you have it, Babu Kosha.
Baruch 3:31.
Go on.
All right. Baruch chapter 3 and verse 31. No man knoweth her way, nor thinketh of her path.
Mm-hmm.
But he that knoweth all things knoweth her.
Right. So he that knoweth all things knoweth her. Uh-huh.
And has found her out with his understanding.
Right. So mm-hmm.
He that prepareth the earth for evermore has filled it with four-footed beasts.
Right. So that's pretty much the Most High. He's the one who know all things. He know her because that's his creation. Go on.
He that sendeth forth light, and it goeth, causeth it again, and it obeys him with fear.
Right. Obeys him with fear. And when he says obeys him with fear, it's follow the commandments. It follow exactly the ordinances of the Most High.
Continue.
Yeah, you could read the last verse on there.
The stars shine in their watches and rejoice.
Mm-hmm.
When he calls them, they say, Here we be. And so, with cheerfulness, they shew light unto him that made them.
Right. Just imagine that. Cheerfulness. Now we cannot even see the cheerfulness of the stars. But the Most High already know how he created them. He knows the cheerfulness. He knows the ins and out of all the instruments of the armies above. But yet mankind worship the instruments of the armies above. The other nations. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to for verse 15 now. Job 4 and 19 for verse 15. Job chapter 4 and 19. I'm not going to read that. I'm just giving the link ups, and then we're going to move on to chapter 10. Since you already read all of that. And for 16, you can write down Sirach chapter 1 and verse 3. For verse 16, Sirach chapter 1 and verse 3. Yeah, some of the verses you just can't help but to read them, even though you say Sirach chapter 1, and I'll read that real fast. It says, Sirach chapter 1 and verse 3, which is the Apocrypha in the Apocrypha, and it's another name for Ecclesiasticus. It says, who can find out the height of heaven and the breadth of the earth and the deep in wisdom? It says, wisdom have been created before all things, and the understanding of prudence from everlasting. So that's why it says wisdom is the principal thing. Again. Wisdom is the principal thing.
This I read it not too long ago, but you could write down Jeremiah.
Jeremiah
31.
Mm-hmm.
And 35 to 37, where Stephen is saying, if you can measure the heights of heaven or the depths of the ground, then I will cast off Israel from being a people.
Right. So pretty much what it's telling them is, if you can find have enough wisdom, or find wisdom itself, then you could do that. So who can find wisdom? Well, we read all the scriptures, because it is with him that created them. So you can snatch wisdom from the Most High. So if you can manage to do that, then it'll do away with Israel. So the Most High sent him in a mission impossible. The Most High gave Esau mainly a mission impossible project. And that project will never come to fruition.
It's funny because they make movies and TV shows about it, right? Journey to the center of the earth. Right?
Gone.
Space, the final frontier, yada, yada, yada. Right?
Gone. So that's what all this locomotion, space station, exploration, Mars, and all that, we might see it as just mainly little things. Esau has a bigger plan beyond everything that he puts. And the Most High put that in his head to make him feel like he can get somewhere with that. And that, again, that's wisdom. All right, so for 17 now, you can write down 14 and 26. John 14 and 26. St. John 14 and verse 26. And for 18, you can write down Wisdom of Solomon chapter 10, which we're going to read in verse 9. Chapter 10 and verse 9, also Proverbs 28 and 26. Proverbs chapter 28 and verse 26. And it says in Proverbs 28 and 26, it says, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whoso walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. It doesn't say you're not supposed to think. That's not what it's saying here. It's like, don't big up yourself like you have all wisdom, you have knowledge and understanding, and you know how to get things done, and you don't need the Most High. If your mind is in the right place, you're thinking righteously, you're going to think rightly because your mind is in the right place. You're going to make right judgment, right decisions, because that's why the Most High give us a mind to think. But think wisely. Base our decision making on the scriptures, based on scripture, based on law, based on righteous judgment, impartial with equity. So now that's the end of the link ups for verse 9. Again, the basis of chapter 9 was the origin, qualities, and deeds of wisdom. So now we're going to transition to chapter 10. Give me 1 second while I write some stuff. All right, so let's get going with chapter 10. All right, so let's go. It says, she preserved the first form father of the world that was created alone and brought him out of his fall and gave him power to rule all things. But when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, he perished. So now we're speaking about Adam. Right? We're speaking about Adam. Right? We're speaking about Adam here. It says in verse 2, and gave him power to rule all things. So give Adam power to rule all things. The Adamite family. It says, but when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger, he perished. Also, in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother. We're talking about Cain. Okay, we're talking about Cain here. So it's giving us a story. It says, for whose cause the earth being drawn with the flood. So now we're talking about Noah. Right? About Noah. Flood. Wisdom again preserved it and directed the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value. All that again is wisdom. Right? Wisdom again equipped with everything to build the ark, to make sure that everything was constructed to carry what were needed to be on the boat. It takes wisdom, it takes knowledge, understanding, experience, to wisdom to be able to accomplish all of that. So wisdom beyond all of that, right? To preserve it. It says, and it says a piece of wood of small value, meaning what had done, it was done so precise, well calculated, math, and it was exactly what was needed at the time to carry out the mission that the Most High wanted. A small boat, but yet equipped with everything. Gone. So now it's wisdom. And keep in mind, you might say a smartphone. Able, you can call on it. You can write text on it. You can go online on it. You can take notes. Right? You can use it as a map. Right? As a GPS. You can calculate on it. You can watch the weather on it, but a small phone, right? That's his wisdom, because you have to have the wisdom to be able to put all this together. But all this could not exist without the Most High's wisdom, because he has all the components in it, all the raw material. The Most High preordained what this raw material can become in 2024 or 2025. Now we can have iPhone. You think it's Esau? No. Esau discovered the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom to put this together. But all this originated from the Most High. So don't get it twisted. Right? So same thing with the boat. At the time, contemporary time, which was modern day time for them at that time, it was what was needed with the proper, precise calculation to have exactly the animals, the amount that they needed for, Noah to have everything in that boat. People cannot imagine that had happened, but now today you can see a phone can do all of that. Some people, maybe, and when we look forward, they would not imagine a phone could do that. If you tell people that a phone could do that back then, they would not have believed you. It's the same thing that people cannot believe that the boat was equipped and well calculated with all the measurement to be able to have everything that the Most High wanted, so that he can preserve his people, right, for the kingdom to come, right? So it's the same way some people would not believe that. Right? So I make the parallel between the phone and the boat to see that, right, in time, Most High will have exactly what he need, because all the wisdom to create that thing that he need is already there from the beginning. So, and it says, moreover, the nations in their wicked conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous and preserve him blameless unto God. So they conspire, the wicked conspire and confounded out of righteousness and preserve him blameless unto God. Speaking about Noah, it says, and kept him strong against his tender compassion towards his son. When the ungodly perished, she delivered the righteous man, who fled from the fire which fell down upon the city.
Verse 5.
It's Abraham for verse 5. It says, moreover, the nations in their wickedness conspiracy being confounded, she found out the righteous and preserved him blamelessly unto God, and kept him strong against his tender commission towards his son.
Yeah, I think 6 is talking about. I think 6 is talking Abraham, but I think 5 might be talking about Eber and Calais. Because the conspiracy that he was talking about here is the Tower of Babel. They want to build a tower, right?
Right.
So they said they have to scatter all over.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they might be talking about Eber. He's the one who kept hold of the language, the original language, before the other languages came in. And they handed it down to his son, Calais, which would be when his age being the earth divided.
Mm-hmm.
And then 6, yeah, that's 22.
Okay. All right. So verse 6. This is when the ungodly perish.
That's not Abraham, it's Lot. But your book should tell you who it's talking about. Your book tell you who it's talking about in the little writing before that.
Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. But I think we got it right this time. But as far as verse 5, though, talking about verse 5.
Mm.
No, it don't tell you about verse 5. I mean, you think it's Abraham.
All right, so let's go to verse 6 now.
I mean, my bad. Yeah, 6 is a lot, right? I think 5 is talking about before that, during the time of the Tower of Babel.
All right, so we'll
Yeah, 6 is definitely a lot.
Okay.
Because he left the city from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities, right? Sodom and Gomorrah being the ones they did.
Come on, so let's move on to verse 6. Let's move on to verse 6, and we're gonna get a link up for verse 6. No, verse 6. I'm on verse 6. It says, when the ungodly perish, she delivered the righteous man who fled from the fire which fell down upon the 5 cities. And that's Genesis 14:2. The 5 cities. It says that these made war with Bera, king of Sodom, and with Besha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Amad, and Sheba, king of Zebruim, and the king of Bela, which is Zoar. Come on. So now, let's go to verse 7. It says, whose wickedness, even to this day, the wasteland that smoke is testimony, and plants bearing fruit that never come to rightness, and a standing pillar of salt is a moment of an unbelieving soul. All right. So for that one, you can write down Genesis 19 and 26. Genesis 19 and verse 26. It says, for regarding not wisdom, they got not only this hurt, that they knew not the things which were good, but also left behind them to the world of a memorial of their foolishness, so that in the things wherein they offended, they could not so much as be hid. But wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right path, showed him the kingdom of God, and gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travail, and multiply the fruit of his labor. Right? So that's speaking about Jacob. All right, so you can that's speaking about Jacob. Okay, you remember when he went and worked with Laban, and he escaped from Esau, and then he had the wisdom to work and know how to, pair one goat with that goat, so he can, have the goat that had the mark on him, and then he multiplied, and pretty much he become rich. So that he had the wisdom. Most High gave him that wisdom to have the know-how and the understanding, how to, raise those livestock. And it says,
Showing the kingdom of God. Think about even the vision that he was shown, right? With the ladder.
right.
Yellow hand go up and down. Take a flat.
Con. So he multiplied the fruit of his labor. It's verse 11. And the covetousness of such as oppressed him, she stood by him and made him rich. So again, in verse 10, we go into various contrasts between, the bad guy and the good guy, those who follow wisdom and those who don't follow wisdom. So this is the contrast that we go into right here. And it says in verse 12, she defended him from his enemies and kept him safe from those that lay in wait. And in a sore conflict, she gave him the victory, that he might know that godliness is stronger than all. So now we can also, since Proverb 1 and 7, we can go to Proverb 1 and 7. Proverb 1 and 7. It says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. So the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instructions. And we can see example of that with Judas, how the Most High gave him victory in the face of an army with multitudes of soldiers, but him with a few. Because of his wisdom, they were able to defeat the enemies that would lay out and try to annihilate Israel. Verse 13 now. It says, when the righteous was sold, she forsook him not, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit. So when the righteous was sold, we're talking about Joseph now. Right? He went down the pit. But Joseph understood even afterward that him being sold into slavery was part of the plan. And he was not mad when he found out that the plan was to preserve his family. That's the reason why he went into slavery. So he didn't take that, he didn't take offense to what had happened. It was an event that happened at the time. It looks horrible, but it took that to preserve his family so that they were kept in famine, right? When there were great famine and they had to move to foreign land to seek, food. All right, so Joseph pretty much was the one referencing here in verse 13. So he says again, when the righteous was sold, She forsook him not. Wisdom did not forsake him. It says, but delivered him from sin. She went down with him into the pit. So when he was in the pit, wisdom was there. And Joseph was actually found way to come out of it and make the right decision to even accept to go to slavery and become second in command and being able to preserve Israel. Now let's go to verse 14. It says, and left him not in bond till she brought him the scepter of the kingdom in power against those that oppress him. As for them that had accused him, she shewed him to be a liar. You remember the Egyptian wife tried to accuse him, but she was shown to be a liar, and gave him perpetual glory. So he was glorified in Pharaoh's court. She delivered the righteous people and blameless seed from the nation that oppressed them. And we were eventually delivered out of Egypt. She entered into the soul of the servants of the Lord and withstood dreadful king and wonders and signs. This was Moses. Right? This was Moses. Let's go on. Verse 17. Rendered to the righteous a reward of their labor, guided them in a marvelous way, and was unto them for a cover by day, and a pillar for a cover by day, in the light of stars in the night season. Brought them to the Red Sea and led them through much water. So that's wisdom again, guiding them, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt. Again, the moral of the story is in the purpose, right? Us living in foreign land and how we ought to conduct ourselves. As we reading the references back to Egypt and what happened, is to look at today's time, this contemporary time, this modern day time, us living in foreign land and secular world, how we ought to conduct ourselves and still keep our culture, observe the laws, statutes, and commandments the best we can, follow the laws, keep the Sabbath day holy, observe the high holy days, do the best that we can. This is why wisdom was created for us, wherever we may be, knowing that time would be hard, that we keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and commandments, no matter what age we in. So that's pretty much the purpose of this book right here that we're reading. No matter where we are, all throughout the four corners of the earth, we're reading the book and we identify ourselves. The Most High wake us up to know that we are the children of Israel. We ought to keep the law, statutes, and commandments. No excuses. To the best of our ability, given the environment that we're in, we ought not to walk away from the law, statutes, and commandments. So that was Moses, and it's giving us the reference.
You're 17.
17 now. It says, rendered to the righteous reward of their labor, guided them in a marvelous way, and was unto them for a cover by day, and a light of stars in the night season, brought them through the Red Sea, and led them through much water. Go on.
Exodus
Exodus. So this is not something that we're reading today just for the Sabbath service. This is instruction that is given to us for this modern day time. As it was back then, they had that instruction. Things written aforetime was written for our learning.
13, verses 20 to 22.
Exodus 13, 20 to 22. That's the link up.
Verse 17.
For verse 17. So just show that wisdom is forever alive and well from the beginning when the Most High created it up until even now. Still guiding us, his people who are calling according to the Most High's name to follow the instructions, because we are on an obstacle course for our kingdom to be established. So we're following the path, even in a way where in a system where we cannot follow or we cannot observe our culture as we should. We're not in Jerusalem. So now we at verse 18, and it says, brought them to the Red Sea and led them through much water. So it says, but she drowned their enemy and cast them up out of the bottom of the deep. Therefore the righteous spoiled the ungodly, and praise thy holy name, O Lord, and magnified with one accord thy hand that fought for them. For wisdom opened the mouth of the dumb and made the tongue of them that cannot speak eloquent. Remember, Moses said he could not speak, but he allowed him to open up his mouth and was able to become an eloquent speaker to speak with the children of Israel, because he had a mission. So he become knowledgeable, he becomes experienced, he had understanding, all because of the wisdom of the Most High. So again, chapter 10 is a contrast between the wicked, the ungodly, and the Most High's chosen people. How the Most High punish the wicked, the ungodly, and reward or protect the Israelites, who are his people. So he protects his people. So for 17, you can write down Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and 3. Chapter 14 in verse 3. Chapter 19 and 7. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19 and 7. Go on. And it reads, as namely a cloud, that's 19 and 7. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19 and 7. As namely a cloud shadowing the camp, and where water stood before, dry land appeared, and out of the Red Sea a way without impediment, and out of the violent stream a green field, showing how the Most High protect the Israelite in the midst of the environmental wind, right? The Red Sea In the cloud, he was able to protect us. So he protect what is his. So that was Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 19, and verse 7. And you can read Exodus 13:21.
Yeah, hold it over.
You can. Yeah. 2022 can. And Exodus 14:15. Exodus 14:15. Psalm 77 in verse 20 to 21. Psalm 77 in verse 20. We have Psalm 77 in verse 20. Right? It says in Psalm 77 and 20, it says, Thou leddest thy people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. And Psalm 78 in verse 13. And it reads, He divided the sea and caused them to pass through, and he made the waters to stand as a heap. Also, the same chapter, you can read for same chapter, you can read verse 53, 78 and 53. I'll read it real fast. It says, and he led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. Protect what's yours, destroy the ungodly. And lastly, for verse 17, Isaiah 4:5-6. And it says, and the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion and upon her assemblies a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle of a shadow in the daytime from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covenant from storm and from rain. That's for his people. When you read all of this, you're still not convinced, just pray to the Most High that he open up your eyes. And for verse 20, I think we pulled the scriptures already. Verse 21, you can write down Psalm 8 and 3 for 21. Psalms 8 in verse 3. Three, 2, three. You can say 8, 3 to 9. I read it real fast. It says, when I consider thy heavens, the work of thine fingers, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visited him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with glory and honor. Thou madest him to have dominion over the works of thine hands. Thou hast put all things under his feet, all sheep and oxen, yea, and the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passeth through the path of the sea. O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is thy name in all the earth. So why did the Most High did that? Because we read it already. The Most High has a plan for us, not to hurt us, but to give us an expected end. So since he has a kingdom in heaven, he wants us to have a kingdom on earth. And that's what kings do, right? When the Father is in the throne, when he passed, his kids inherit the kingdom. But since the Most High is the everlasting Most High, he's the living God, he cannot die, but he wants his kids to have a kingdom as well. So he has earth as our kingdom. So earth is going to be the kingdom for Christ and his only begotten son and his other sons, who are the children of Israel. So on that note, we're going to say that's the end of the teaching or the Sabbath service. All praises to Most High Bahashem Yahushai for allowing us to be here on this marvelous day that he created, that he put aside for himself, that we are honored, right, to partake in this great day, which is the Sabbath service. All praises to Most High once again, Bahashem Yahushai Mashiach. So as housekeeping rules, if you like the gospel that we're teaching, which is the gospel of Christ, the good news, invite your friends, family, those who are interested to come and get the good news so that they can spread it all throughout about our kingdom to come with Christ as the kings. The Most High is our kings of kings, and Yahushua will be kings of kings on earth. And the children of Israel will be inherit the kingdom. And if you are your forefathers from, those who descendants of the slaves and descendants of the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, you are of the children of Israel. So send friends, families to the class, And the class is Tuesdays at 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., as well as Friday, same time. All right. And I'm going to put the conference line on the screen, which is 667-770-1085. And the conference code is 521455, followed by the number sign or hashtag. Also, if you want to donate, before donation, if you have a smartphone, you want to participate in a live class where you can see everybody, you can interact and ask questions, you can go to profitabletalks.com, which is a Zoom link. You can see everybody, you can ask questions, interaction with everybody, interact with fellow brothers and sisters, ask question, learn about your nationality, your roots, right? Your foundation, who you are, things that you will not hear from your pastors in Christian church, things you never imagined was in the Bible is there. They've always been there, but the time was not allow you to understand it. The Most High did not open your eyes yet. All right, so now you can log into Profitable Talks and have a conversation with your family. If you want to donate, you can send it via mail. If you're still sending out mail, and you should send it to Hayashua Al-Kanas, 3826B, Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19140. So we can continue to maintain the bills, have the class, have a place for us to gather together to spread the gospel. 3826B, Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19140. And also you can send it via Zelle, which is 646-620-7378, or PayPal.me@HYK12. Once again, Zelle at 646-620-7378. All right. So we all pay tithes, and we don't take a salary. Our main concern is teach the word as it is written, so that our people can know who they are, their nationality, and know that they are the kings and queens who shall inherit the earth. All right. So again, thank you for being here. Most importantly, thank the Most High for you being here, because without the Most High's opening your eyes, you would not be able to be here to begin with. All right. All praises to the Most High first and foremost. All right. So with that, we're gonna say stay tuned for the closing prayer. All right. Stay tuned. Somebody get the dog out question. Wakata Yawa, Bashim Yao Shai, Ashura, Matananawa, Payagapan, Tuaraman, La Yaha, Bashim Yao Shai, Afyasha Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it, to Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai with Israel. I madwa upon you, I wash them, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Abakushai, Shilman, Lanawa, Haita, Yamyun, Haita, Shalat, Micah Allah, Walalahayim, Matazu Dakim, Shemar Ayah, Barak, Rapa, Magun, Wakaziyak, Bunya, Yasha Allah, Wasalat, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakama, Rabiam, the Aif, Rabiam, Bayana, Rabiam, Sabalanwa, Rabiam, Amawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Ahabiam, Rabiam, Hagana, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Katayimnawa, Akim, Wayasha Allah, Tamyad, Waiwalam, Bahasham, Yahushai, the water, Amen. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now. Right now, send Michael and the righteous powers and angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. Protect, make strong the children of Israel, and send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive us all our sins. For the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew one. Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Ubafia Saparia, Shema, Yashu Allah, Yahweh, Allah Hayinawa, Yahweh, Akai. All right. And I say, bless all Israel, all throughout the four corners of the earth, and have a blessed week. Enjoy the rest of the Sabbath. Shalom.
Shalom.